Hi guys, I'm David Salazar. This is my colleague Edwin Molina, and we are back for the Group E preview on Studs Up World Cup edition here on Latin Post. Group E is one of the more interesting groups in my opinion.
I think it's not as boring as people make it out to
Yeah,
me.
right. I mean, you got Ecuador, you got Honduras, you got France, you got Switzerland.
I'll give you Switzerland is boring, but...
I know you don't like your Swiss. Let's talk a little bit about
I don't even like the French. Tell me about the Swiss.
Well, you know, their defensive side, they went through pretty easily on qualifiers because they didn't have, let's be honest, they didn't have a particularly difficult group to go through. They didn't have any big heavyweights. They got one of the easier groups because they were one of the higher seeds, which is very controversial. But their World Cup success is minimal. This is a solid roster to be sure, and they can definitely get through because it is an easy group by most standards. But I'm not buying it because there's two other teams in this group that I think are infinitely more developed, and I think they have a better shot at it. One of them being Ecuador.
I mean, you gotta like the scene. They're pretty scrappy. They're playing at home. Right. You know, they came in fourth in the qualifiers. Tough, you know.
And they're also playing for Benitez, who died last year. Chucho Benitez, he died last year prematurely. There was a lot of, there's a lot of emotion in this tournament for this guy. Of course, they have Antonio Valencia, their captain, plays for Manchester United. They're playing on home turf. They did pretty well in 2006, the last time they won a World Cup. And I just don't see how they're going to pass up an opportunity on their continent to make a big storm. Now, the big question mark for me in this tournament has to be France. Which France is going to show up? 1998, they win the World Cup at home. 2002, they bomb out in the first round. 2006, they barely get through the first round, but then they get all the way to the finals. 2010, they implode in the first round. Which France shows up? They were struggling in qualifiers. They don't have Zinedine Zidane anymore. Now they have Franck Ribéry, Karim Benzema, Olivier Giroud, Laurent Koscielny.
These are guys that have won in a huge stage, just not as a team together as a national team as well. So they're an enigma.
And then let's forget Johan Cabaye, who I think is the most important team player for France, because Ribéry, after being nominated for the Ballon d'Or, losing it seemed to deflate him. He didn't have a great year for Bayern Munich after losing the Ballon d'Or. So it'll be interesting to see who carries this team. I mean, this is a team with a lot of stars that are not used to playing together. And
do they even like each other? I mean, that was a question in the last World Cup. Do they even like each other?
Right.
I mean, that's so French, by the way. Like, Anelka sulking in the corner, and that's why I like my chances for Honduras. Yes, a little biased. Yes, you see the jersey. I'm hoping for something so French-like to implode. You know what I mean? It just, you expect a soap opera to see. Here's the thing about Honduras. Maynard Figueroa, Wilson Palencia, Roger Espinosa, Andy Najar, Carlos Koslik, Jerry Bennington. This is not a bad team on paper.
On paper. But let's look at the results. Honduras, what is their history in the World Cup?
And that's that's my problem. That's my one fear going into this. I think we can hang with Ecuador. I'm hoping.
If there's one team you can hang with, I don't think it is Ecuador.
I think
if there's a team you can hang with, it might be Switzerland. You had them 4 years ago in the same group. You tied 0-0 with them. You can hang with them.
And that kind of goes with my problem with Honduras. On paper, they got a great team, but they sit so passively in the World Cup. They settle for draws. And it's like, all right, Switzerland's going to park the bus on you. Just be more dynamic. Push the ball up forward. And Honduras doesn't do that. So I think we can hang with Ecuador. I'm hoping for France to implode. I'm hoping for a miracle.
Okay. Name the group in the order. Who do you think is going to win the group? Who do you think is going to lose the group?
Okay, I got Ecuador actually going on top. As much as I think that Honduras can hang with it, I got Ecuador on top. I think that opening game for Honduras is going to be, I think France wins. My head tells me France wins. My heart says that this team will implode opening day against France, and they'll find a way. If they're aggressive. All
right, I have Ecuador, France, Switzerland, and Honduras. I don't think Honduras gets a single point. Thank you very much for joining us on this episode of Studs Up World Cup edition here on Latin Post. Stay tuned for our Group F preview, which should be really interesting. And find us on Twitter, Facebook, or on LatinPost.com. I'm David Salazar, my colleague Edwin Molina. Thank you very much.